Yeah, guys. Excuse me, funny throat, but then one. Thanks for tuning in to this. My Brentford and Newcastle preview plus Premier match predictions for the weekend, and so obviously I will be doing the preview first, and then obviously the prediction show. I haven't managed to get many other people to join, but I've got one guest. But I have put the link in here if anyone does want to join that comes into the live chat. You're all very welcome to come on. And I'll see I've got a couple of comments here. Warren's team talk on Mr. B, 3 points for the Bees is a must win in the Ivan Toney derby. Yeah. Yeah, trying to forget him, mate, I'm afraid. Yeah, trying to get away from him. We moved away from him, mate. He's no longer with us now, bro. So, but anyway, yeah, I think we could do better without him anyway. Anyway, there we go. And Warren's team talk again. Sorry, mate, I have something I have to do at 6:30. Well, this was supposed to be around 6, of course, but 6 o'clock, but obviously other things delayed it, so wasn't able to. And now I've done it for 8 o'clock, and I've decided to do a prediction stream as well at the same time. I thought, why not? There's no other streams, well, not many others doing this sort of thing. So tonight, I thought I would. And as I say, that link is there if anyone else wants to join. But I will bring my guest on that I have got, and that's Mr. T. Evening to you, sir. How are you?
All good, thank you, good sir. And I think, of course, I have to start with a little bit of a Pet Shop Boys quip. Fair to say you wouldn't normally do this kind of thing. And when it comes to Ivan Toney, you've got to ask yourself now, can you forgive him if he wants you to?
Well, I don't know, Manny, to be honest. You know, yeah, I know what you're going for there, going with, but I just want to forget about him. He's no longer with us, so let's move on. You know, we're moving on without him, and we're doing fairly well without him, I suppose. Although not away.
Agreed. And if I can just get this one in, you're now playing with Liberation.
Yeah, very good, Mr. T. Very good. But yeah, so anyway, I'm going to preview first. But actually, there's one bit of news I've seen that I'm going to go into first, a bit of transfer news. And this is obviously before next year, obviously in January, it opens, doesn't it, I believe. So I have got a little bit of transfer news to share here to do with us. Whether it's right or not, if it's correct or a load of BS, that remains to be seen. But I've got this up here, and it's to do with this guy here, Nicholas Kuhn. I think I've said that name right.
Yes, you have.
Yeah. So apparently we're after this guy, 11-goal Celtic winger. But Brighton also are after him as well, so pose a transfer threat. So even if it's true, we could possibly lose out to them, no doubt. But really, we could have done with Warren here because he knows he's a Celtic fan, isn't he? So he would have told us if anything's going on with this, if this is definitely true or not. But he's not able to come in, Warren. So I just have to go on and talk about it now, see what you think of it. If you think this is, because we don't know, do we? This is all, it could all be rumours and nothing, confirmed or anything. Says Brentford and Brighton and Hove Albion are considering a January move for Celtic winger Nicholas Kuhn. Sources have exclusively revealed to Team Talk. This is this site, Team Talk, so don't go on here that much. The Hoops are flying in the Scottish Premiership and currently sit 11 points clear of rivals Rangers at the top of the table with Kuhn playing a major role in their success. The 24-year-old has arguably been Celtic's standout performer this term and looks to be one of the favourites to lift the SPL's Player of the Season award to life. No, that doesn't make sense. He has made 20 appearances so far this season and notched an impressive 11 goals and 11 assists, with 2 goals coming in the Champions League. Kuhn's spectacular performances this season have caught the attention of sides in the Premier League, with 2 in particular seriously interested in his signature, per Team Talk sources. So whether they're reliable, who knows? We understand that Brentford are considering a January bid for Kuhn, with Thomas Frank a big admirer of the German winger. Brighton are also being keen, though, and have a good relationship with Celtic, having signed Matt O'Reilly from the Scottish side for £25 million this past summer. Yet another Danish player I thought we were interested in, of course, but that didn't happen. He went to Brighton, so that could happen here as well. The Seagulls also have a strong scouting network in Scotland, and Kuhn is a player who has come up in their Moneyball system. Several sides from the Bundesliga are also keeping tabs on Kuhn's situation. Celtic expects Kuhn exit sources. Celtic are in a strong position with Kuhn as he is under contract at Parkhead until 2029. Sources close to the club say they will demand a big fee for the winger, as their model requires them to sign players for low fees and sell high. Celtic paid just $3 million to sign Kuhn from Rapid Vienna in the summer of 2023 and are set to demand significantly more for his sale. Brendan Rodgers' side are likely to be willing to sell Kuhn in January, halfway through a campaign that could see them in the Champions League knockout stages and fighting for three trophies domestically. However, no one at Celtic expects Kuhn to stay at the club for the duration of his contract, and there is a high expectation that he will leave the club next summer. So even if it is true, it's actually the summer, not January. So we wouldn't be getting him in January anyway, if we were to get him. So first of all, do you think this is true or BS, Manny?
Well, it wouldn't be a football season, Mr. B, without the odd transfer rumour here and there. And obviously, I've seen Kuhn play. I've seen some highlights of him in the Champions League. I do occasionally get coverage of the Scottish Premiership as well. But obviously, given that other sports take priority on said channel, whether or not those matches are shown is sort of at their discretion. But I do see some of their games. And Kuhn obviously is one of their stars. So one thing which I can say right now is that Celtic are not going to be in any kind of willingness to let go of a player who was that pivotal for them this season in January. They will, in all likelihood, wait until the end of the season and possibly, let him leave. But then, again, the club will also have to say in this, and I think you've mentioned that the club will be looking to demand some big fees. And because he's recently been signed, his book value is still quite high. So they are going to want to try and demand a very heavy fee. Had he been some years into his contract, then maybe they wouldn't have demanded that higher fee, but they still certainly would have looked to have made a profit on him, especially when you consider the effects of inflation. So sorry for that little financial discourse there, but in a nutshell, Celtic aren't going to let him go when they're flying high this season. No amount of money will be enough to prize him away from them. He's not Ruben Amorim, you see.
No.
And
True.
And obviously, we talk about the Premiership and how it offers so much more money, which is one of the reasons why Ange Postecoglou was willing to leave a successful Celtic team to go all the way down to London. And so far this season, it's been a typical Tottenham season, completely hot and cold, yes and no, in and out, up and down, and all the rest. And, it just goes to show that not everything that glitters will be gold. And there's no way that Kuhn will even want to consider leaving a team that's doing well in the bright lights of the Champions League and is still, competing domestically for silverware, just for the sake of more money. Everyone wants the dosh, you see, that much.
Yeah.
So no, I don't think there's going to be any activity on him. And the worst part about it, Steve, is that by the end of the season, his stock will have risen so high that bigger clubs will obviously want to try and come in for him, having seen his performances in Scotland and Europe. So, if Brentford really have the ambition and are willing to part with a good load of dosh to sign him from Celtic, if you do, I mean, good luck with that. If you are able to do that, then maybe Celtic will be turned a little bit. But I think it's fair to say that all the talk about him leaving in January is a non-starter. He could end up going to Brighton, and of course, Brighton until last season had the Scottish superstar Billy Gilmour in their ranks, and so he probably would be a good resource when it comes to telling Kuhn about life over on the over there where the Seagulls are. Not to mention that there is a good scouting network for the club in Scotland, as you mentioned. So it's a non-starter. He's not going anywhere in January. And if Celtic do manage to qualify for the next stage, I think they should have done enough to potentially secure a position in the playoffs for the round of 16. They won't qualify automatically with some teams still better than them and still looking to try and get their momentum. And obviously the teams in the top 8 or thereabouts are favourites. But this is a much improved European campaign from Celtic after several seasons gone by. And credit to Brendan Rodgers. Couldn't quite cut the mustard at Liverpool. Left Leicester with a sour taste, but now he's back at Celtic for a second spell and doing well. But if he's smart, he won't leave Celtic before the end of the season either. I don't think he'll want to leave Celtic full stop anyway. He's now found out the grass is not always greener on the other side.
Yeah. It's fair to say that Rodgers won't be ending up with Dusty Bin at the end of the season, won't he? So, but yeah, so, anyway, we move on and big up to you, Stepsy, by the way. Thanks for coming in, my friend, in the live chat. Cheers, mate, for coming in. Obviously, your comments and everything are always welcome, opinions. So, but obviously, we move on and go into our match against Newcastle, which is back at home. You would hope we could get back to winning ways and what we're usually doing at home and playing fairly well, but I'm not so certain. I was so gutted with that the other day against Villa. That was terrible. Terrible performance. We just can't get it going on the road. We can't get it going away from home. It's pathetic, really. I don't know what's happening there. But even now at home, I don't know what's going to happen here, because I think Newcastle is still a great team, and as much as they're in and out this season, it's not going to be easy, even though we're at home. So, but obviously we have got looks like some good news that maybe Norgard will be back and Christopher Ajer. Yeah, so it's saying here, Frank hopeful on Brentford duo. Brentford head coach Thomas Frank provides an update on Christian Norgard and Christopher Ajer ahead of the Bees Premier League game against Newcastle United. Norgard missed the midweek trip to Aston Villa, while Ajer has been absent since October due to a foot injury. Brentford head coach Thomas Frank provided an update on Christian Norgard and Christopher Ajer ahead of the Bees Premier League game against Newcastle United on Saturday. Norgard missed the midweek trip to Aston Villa, while Ajer has been absent since October due to a foot injury. I'm still very hopeful that Norgard will be available, Frank began. He trained today on the pitch, so that's positive. Christopher Ajer trained as well. I'm more positive that Norgard will be involved than Ajer. The West Londoners fell to a 3-1 defeat at Villa Park on Wednesday. Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks for mentioning it. I remember it. I can't forget that. Asked how much of a loss Norgard was, Frank responded, you always want your best players on the pitch, and he is one of our best players. He has been one of the most consistent performers over the last 5 years. Of course, we would have loved him to be on the pitch, but I trust the players who played last night, and we won games without Christian before. But I'm very happy it's likely to be he'll be ready for Saturday. Matthias Jensen, hamstring. Gustavo Nunez, back. Rico Henry, knee. Aaron Hickey, hamstring. And Josh De Silva, knee, remains sidelined. What a surprise. Pardon me. What an absolute surprise, Manny, that those players are still out, injured.
Well, I detect a little from you, sir.
Sorry, Manny, what did you say?
Asking you if I detected a little snide from you there, because clearly I understand, you can be frustrated with players being injured, and, with some people it's just not really a surprise. We've seen what happened to Luke Shaw at Manchester United. That poor chap has been through the... Thankfully at Arsenal we've got Kieran Tierney back in the squad, but knowing Mikel the way like we do, he's not going to get any minutes, and I hope he walks away in January. He might possibly go back to Celtic, or he could possibly end up going to Aston Villa, and Ian Maatsen might be sent on loan. Disappointing, really. Alex Moreno's at Nottingham Forest. He won't be able to come back. But listen, Norgard obviously being available will be a big boost, because he is, of course, the captain. And he obviously lends a great deal of leadership to this side. And having him at the back will also be very important in terms of defending from the likes of Alexander Isak and company. It will be interesting to see what happens if he is available. I'm certainly thinking that Norgard will have a big role to play. And it's interesting that Stepsy says that it was a good result for Newcastle in midweek. But here's the thing, though. I'm going to look back on that and say that it was a bit of a missed opportunity. And obviously there was some controversy at the end of that game where the referee supposedly stopped the game with Newcastle in the middle of what could have been a potentially match-winning attack. And they caught Newcastle cold. They were good value for their leads. And then, of course, when you know who scored twice, he looked to have won it for Liverpool. But, Newcastle never said die. But the thing about this Liverpool team is that even if they do have one slight blip, they overcome that and keep moving. And that is a potentially champion team right there. Even the Liverpool team under Jurgen Klopp that I think got a century of points. I think they only lost once at Watford, 3-0. I remember that. So they still kept moving on. And I think obviously you're going to want to talk about Brentford's tactical issues and how they're going to line up. And I'd like to think that what I've said a little bit about Newcastle will be a nice segue. They seem to have a lot of problems in their midfield. I think many, aside from maybe, Guimaraes and Joe Linton, we're not seeing that much consistency in the Newcastle midfield. So that is something that could potentially be exploited if you can do that.
Yeah, I was just going to go through this as well, though, Manny. Obviously, this is obviously the preview for it. I mean, it doesn't always tell you what's gonna, what we're gonna do, what we're gonna play, who's playing, or whatever. But it's sort of a guide there, to what may happen. I don't know. But obviously, this sort of tells you a little bit. I mean, obviously, I'd like to get to the root of the issues of our, tactics, our defence strategies, whatever, because it's not been working on the road. It certainly don't work. When we're going away, we look bad. We look really bad. And the same, and it was like that at Villa. As much as great as Villa are, and they played well, we let them play well, Manny. You can't let teams play well. You got to go. You got to get into them. You got to. get stuck in and stop them playing and this and that. You can't let them play. A great team like Villa will do that if you let them. So, and they were struggling. They were on the ropes, don't forget. They were in a bad way. They'd lost, how many games? 4? Was it 4? They'd lost.
They had a winless run of 8 games in both the Premiership and the Champions League. And, they lost to, I think, they lost quite a few games against some decent teams. And in some other games, they just completely, underperformed. But obviously, Unai Emery was one of the things which I love about Emery is that he has the ability to try to, really calm everything down and really earn the trust of the supporters. And he's definitely earned the trust of the Villa supporters. And he's told them we have to work on the little things and we will, go through ups and downs and we go through them together. And he's definitely more of a father figure for that club. It probably didn't work out with him at Arsenal because, the way we are, we're just a bunch of impatient, unforgiving fools, one would say. But it's worked with them. But what you said about allowing them to play well, especially in light of the fact that last year you went to their neck of the woods and drew with them 3-3, that would have been especially disappointing. It would have been especially disappointing, of course, that performance you had on Wednesday in lieu of all of that. But you can't really do too much about it except try to move forward. And it's not going to be easy against Newcastle by any means because they do actually look good on the road.
Yeah. Well, I've always thought they're still a great team, no matter how they're struggling at times and they're in and out and whatever. Because I just know I know it's going to be a tough one. I mean, we can't win every game at home. Yeah, we're unbeaten still at home, but we're going to come up against a real obstacle, and I think Newcastle could be one of them. I really do. They've got so many really great players. Isaac, of course, or Isaac. I never know what to call him. It's Isaac or Isaac, but he's quality, I think. And obviously Gordon and Joe Linton and Guimaraes and the list is endless almost. Harvey Barnes, whatever. There's so many talented players there, really. And it's amazing that they are struggling where they are. There's what are they? Bottom, not mid-table. They're bottom of the table, aren't they? Not bottom. I mean, are they 12th or something like that? 13.
Yeah, Newcastle.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah, who are you asking about where they are on the table? I didn't quite hear you.
Newcastle. I think they're below us, aren't they? I think they're below the Bees.
Yeah, they are below you. Obviously, if I think Spurs obviously had to beat Bournemouth to go above the both of you, but they failed quite miserably. And said it's another day as a Spurs supporter. But I'm also taking a look at the BBC look at what's going on with Newcastle, and Newcastle obviously are the type of team that when they're in a really good place mentally, they know how to play, and they do quite well away from home. They've always had a tendency to do quite well away from home. In fact, last season they of course did the double over Aston Villa after thrashing them 5-1 on the opening day. They went to Villa Park and spoiled their own unbeaten record. They were unbeaten at home at that time with fine wins over Manchester City and Arsenal, but Newcastle smashed that to smithereens, and not long afterwards you drew with them 3-3 and Spurs smashed them 4-0. But you can't underestimate Newcastle at any point, and normally when they get going and when they start playing well, they are a really good team. But some notes on them on Newcastle right now. But listen, why don't you read your article first, mate, and then I'll chime in, yeah?
Yeah, cool, mate. No worries. I'll get on with that now. Read this now. Brentford's excellent home record will face a tough test as they welcome Newcastle United to the Gtech Community Stadium on Saturday. The Bees remain one of 3 undefeated teams on home turf in the Premier League this season, alongside Arsenal and Brighton, but have scored more goals, 22, and earned more points, 19, at home than anyone else. In fact, no team in the European top 5 leagues has scored as many home league goals. Newcastle did well to earn a point in an entertaining 3-3 draw at St James's Park midweek against league pacesetters Liverpool. The Magpies took the lead twice in the game, including a glorious Alexander Isaac strike, and had the resilience to equalise late on, having been 3-2 down. Bruno Guimaraes provided 2 assists in that game, and as ever, he will be a threat for Brentford's midfield to neutralise. The Brazilian ranks 5th in the Premier League for through balls with 9 in total. The 27-year-old is also the most fouled player in the Premier League this season, having drawn 54 fouls. That's a stat that also ranks him first out of the European top leagues. Following just behind Guimaraes in that stat is Anthony Gordon, who scored the second goal against Liverpool on 34 fouls. Fouls or the lack of them could be an interesting thing to watch out for at the weekend. Brentford have committed the joint fewest fouls in the league this season, just 110. The same number as Man City, whilst Newcastle 190 are, as you have guessed, the most fouled team. As a brief aside, only West Ham have been fouled fewer times, 117, than Brentford, 128. That stat may prove important, especially considering Newcastle earned their 3rd goal midweek for an excellent Guimaraes set piece that Fabian Schär got on the end of. Yeah, and Kelleher missed, of course, let it go over his head or whatever. Indeed, late goals are another thing that Brentford have to be wary of, especially considering the Bees often start the better of the two teams, scoring 17 first-half goals to 10 in the second period. In that respect, the performance against Villa was something of an anomaly. Meanwhile, Newcastle have scored the majority of their goals late on in games, 12 second-half strikes to 5 in the first. Pardon me. And in particular, from the 75th minute onwards until the end of stoppage time, when the Magpies have netted 5 times. A win for Brentford at the weekend would help end the Magpies' winning run against the Bees. Newcastle have won their last 5 games against Brentford, which equates to all of the games in which Eddie Howe was in the dugout for the club. The 3-3 draw back in November 2021, which you mentioned, of course, Manny, was officially Howe's first game in charge, but saw the former Bournemouth boss coaching from a hotel room due to testing positive for COVID-19. Even then, though, a goal late on for Newcastle earned them a point with Alan St Maximin. Oh yeah, remember him, making it 3-3 in the 75th minute. Thomas Frank will be keen to get a first win over Howe on Saturday, but Brentford will have to be at their very best for the full 90 minutes. Yeah, I'll read that one in a minute. What do you make of that?
Well, obviously, it talks about Newcastle's history and their better qualities, but from the BBC Sport profile, I can tell you that they've won just 2 of their past 10 league fixtures, and during that period, they averaged a point per game. And Newcastle's current tally of 13 defeats in 26 Premier League away matches is the 3rd highest among current top-flight clubs during that period, behind Brentford's 18 and 14 for Wolves. So they're not too hot away from home. The only problem is you're colder away from home, but you happen to be in red-hot form back at the Gtech. And obviously, Isak has been mentioned. He has been directly involved in 6 goals in Newcastle's past 6 league games, scoring 4 and setting up 2. And that's why Arsenal and Chelsea, of course, are interested in him. If they don't get him in January, they're going to try for him at the end of the season. But as mentioned, of course, Eddie Howe has never lost a Premier League match against Brentford. won 5 and drawn 1, and that should include obviously the occasions when he was managing Bournemouth, I think. So now he wants to have 6 league wins in a row against an opponent for the first time in his managerial career. But Newcastle obviously have got some injury issues. Not so much injuries. I mean, Kieran Trippier, the former England right back, was kept out of that match against Liverpool because of an illness, and I don't think he'll make the weekend. And then there are 3 players, Fabian Schär, who scored that late equaliser against Liverpool, Guimaraes' compatriot Joe Linton, and the Italian Sandro Tonali. If they get booked tomorrow, they're suspended for the next game afterwards. And so one of the things I also said, Steve, when it comes to Newcastle is that I mentioned that they had that pretty poor run. They seem to not be really able to get the ball moving that much in the centre of midfield. I think Joe Willock has, for the most part, been really good during his time at Newcastle, but now he's looked a bit inconsistent, and obviously he's had to interchange places with Jacob Murphy. You're still going to get good performances from Guimaraes, as has been mentioned, but I just don't know if they've been really able to, penetrate that much. And I don't need to be reminded of what happened when we went to St. James's Park. It was a dismal performance against them. I think we only had 1 damn shot on target the entire game. But, if they do get things right, they're not to be underestimated. But your best hope to try and get something would be to pack the midfield. And so you might know a lot more about your players than I do. So maybe you can come up with a potential starting 11 for the game in question. But I see you've got some referee details there. Let's hear them.
Yeah, this is going to be our referee tomorrow for the game. Whether he's any good, I'm not sure I've seen him. Oh yeah, I've seen him in some of the games. Tim Robinson, yeah. So I see, you see more of his wife, Mrs. Robinson, yeah. In that film, yeah, The Graduate. Yeah, anyway, but Tim, so you got him assistants Timothy Wood and Stephen Meredith, 4th official Stephen Martin, and video assistant referee Jared Gillett. Tim Robinson officiated his first Premier League match in December 2019. Yeah, I seem to remember it actually. Burnley's 1-0 victory over Newcastle. Well, that'd be good if that happens and we score that 1 goal. Yeah, I doubt it though. We're probably likely to concede a few as well. In the 30 games that Robinson refereed last season, he showed 122 yellow cards. He did not produce a red card. Robinson's last visit to Gtech Community Stadium was for Brentford's 1-0 defeat to Arsenal in November 2023. Oh, well, there you go. Yeah, the 3-3, which is, I think, was this the one you mentioned, wasn't it, Manny? The 3-3?
No. I was about to tell you that 3-3 I mentioned was Villa's 3-3 with you when you went to Villa Park, and you literally, I think Unai Emery was not best that particular day. That was last season. Yeah. This is a different game together. And obviously, Mr. Robinson has had experience refereeing you lot. Not a very happy experience, but experience nonetheless. And you're just going to have to try and find a way to, rise above that. At least be happy you're not coming up against that donkey, Kai Havertz. And yes, if there are any Arsenal fans watching, I've said it, he is a donkey. Or as Mike might say, he's a donkey. Where is that donkey?
More like German giraffe, mate. But anyway, but yeah, I do remember that, the one against Arsenal. Yeah. Especially the one, I think it was that one where he should have been sent. Yeah, the one where he should have been sent off. I think we were drawing with you at the time, and I think he should have been sent off. And he scored the winner, didn't he? He scored the winner.
If I remember, I don't quite remember the details of that. It could have been that he scored and then should have been sent off, but My memory fails me at that time. I think you might be better placed to answer that than me.
Well, I remember him diving, and it should have been sent off, and the referee didn't. I don't think he even booked him.
Yeah, that was poor.
And he stayed on, and he got the winner. I think we was 1-1 with you at the time. Could have got a point. You probably got both. I think he did get both goals in the end. So that's how much it cost us in the end. But there you go. That's what these referees are about, and they're bloody useless, half of them. So,
yeah. And don't get me started on Gillette. He's definitely not the best the league can get.
No, true. Yeah. A few people have been cut by what he does, but yeah. A lot of close cuts with what he does. Anyway, but so yeah, I just feel I don't know what to make of this. I don't really know what we're going to do. I think we'd had pretty much the same team again. I can't see us changing it that much. I'd like to see Thiago start though. Why not start him? See what he can actually do. He came on actually against Villa and had a great chance and blazed it over the bar. I think, unfortunately. So, but I'd like to see him from the start, and I'd like maybe get Carvalho in, playing from the start. Change it up a bit. Because this isn't exactly working. And that was our team there, obviously. Flecken, of course, yeah. Vandenberg and Lewis Potter, Janelt, Collins, Pinnock, Yarmuluk, Damsgaard, Visser and Beaumont Shardy, who didn't turn up. He went missing, the smooth operator, went missing somewhere. Didn't turn up to this game after getting a hat-trick on Saturday. Oh dear, what happened there? Just didn't turn up, did he? Not a lot of them did, to be honest.
It's going to happen every now and then. And, of course, one memory is that you do have to thank Flecken for ensuring that Villa didn't score more than 3 that day. I know, I respect your opinion, though. I know why you say that Flecken is certainly not all that. And there are a lot of, defects to his game. But at the same time, we've also got to be magnanimous and give him his flowers and credits when they're due. But I actually would think it wouldn't be remiss if you were to bring back Christian Norgard, because Villa made the decision to bring Tyrone Mings on and let him play. He made a lot of difference. Really good. He made a pretty big difference to Villa and the way they played, and obviously his aerial prowess was quite good. The biggest problem with Aston Villa's defence is that Pau Torres and Diego Carlos are not necessarily very strong in the air. So they're always going to be prone to any kind of set pieces that will come their way. So Mings coming in made a bit of a difference. And I think Norgard, if he were to start, he probably could do the same thing for Brentford. And let's not forget, Norgard is the captain. And Mings also was the captain at Aston Villa until John McGinn ended up being given the job by that brutal brat Steven Gerrard. The less said about him, the better. And... I think Norgard would be given a start. I perhaps, in the scheme of things, would be maybe a little risky, I'd like to think. But Norgard, why not? He could be the trump card.
Yeah. I certainly think if he does come back, it'd be for Yarmuluk, I would think. So I would like to see... No, fuck off about Rawsleff. No, just keep him on the bench, please. Thiago.
You really don't want that, do you, Steve?
Have you seen him play, Manny? Have you seen him play?
I'm going to take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. He's not up to snuff. I'll take your word for it.
I'll tell
You
you
know
what,
better.
if you think he can do better with Arsenal, you buy him. You can have him, I'll tell you. You can give us,
Nah,
I'll tell you what, give us 50 mil for him. You can have him, yeah?
no. We already shelled that amount of money for Benny Blanco, and we got some other dodgy defenders in our team. We don't need another one. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but he's actually worse than Benny Blanco, mate, and that's saying something. So,
I don't doubt it.
He's just never been a footballer. He's an embarrassment, mate. He's been there from about 8 years old, but so what? Who cares? He's no good. But yeah. So anyway,
And you know how we get here. Thank God he's gone.
yeah. Well, he's worse than Nketiah, so there you go. And that's saying something about as well, isn't it? To be worse than Eddie Nketiah is amazing, isn't it?
Fair enough.
But yeah.
Fair enough.
I still think Carvalho, I'd like to see him and Thiago given a go this time. He's got to change it up a bit, Thomas, I think. He really has. I don't think it's something. Sometimes it's not working. And yeah, we are scoring well at home. And I think Damsgaard's pretty much having a great season. Although I don't think he was that great against Villa. He did score, but I don't think it was one of his better games. So, but I do think some of them are playing fairly well, and then when it comes to going away, though, they disappear. I just think they always disappear. So why can't they put into the match what they do at home? Why can't they do it away? I just don't get it.
Combination of home comforts and travel sickness, I would presume.
Yeah. Well, it is a blooming sickness the way it's going, I think, because we just can't win away. I mean, got 1 point away from home. That is it. That is pathetic, And if we was doing as well away, right, winning away, we'd actually be probably up, like, 5th or 6th or something in the Premier. We'd be doing that well if we could do well away from home and score, win away from home. And that's what's stopping us. That's the bloody weight on our back that's stopping us from doing it. So I don't know what we're going to do, mate. I'm just fed up with it. It's just, score loads of goals at home, play well, get goals, but yeah, concede as well, which I'm still not thrilled about. But yeah, we're scoring a lot of goals and we're winning at home. But we have to go away sometimes, I'm afraid. You can't just stay at the Gtech. So let's figure out a way of doing something away from home for a change.
I agree.
I don't know, mate, but it's just anyway. I think for this I can't see him changing it up that much, though, Thomas. And but as you say, I think Norgard will come back. I would say, and Yarmouth could be left out, probably go back to the bench. I think it'd be pretty much that similar team, though. I can't see him doing that much else. I just hope they turn up now. Sade comes back to it again like he was on Saturday. Vista and Bomo. They've been really good. They've been great at home. Damsgaard as well. So, and Lewis Potter, I think, has come on a hell of a lot. I think he's been really good this season. So, as long as we do it at home again, I want to see a better performance at least than that the other day. Because that was an embarrassment the other day. It really was, especially the first half. So let's get up and let's play. Let's try and beat Newcastle, who we haven't beaten at all. So could be the first time, which would be good. And get the 3 points, So I'll let you have the prediction first, Manny, as you're my guest. I'll let you predict the score, what you think it's going to be, and then I'll say my prediction, obviously. So
Yeah,
go ahead.
well, one thing which Newcastle should give you in theory is goals, but then at the Gtech, you lot have obviously been in amazing form. You've been scoring left, right, and centre, and I think obviously the form of the likes of Mbuemo and Vissa, and now Shade obviously coming in, and it's been really good. And Newcastle, of course, I did mention that they haven't exactly had the best recent run of form of late. Um, I also hark back to that pretty poor home loss against Sloppy Teggy's West Ham. They did actually play quite better than the Hammers in parts, but the problem is playing in parts doesn't win you the game in full. You've got to make sure that you take your take your chances. And I think West Ham were just that little bit more clinical, perhaps, and they were good value for their win. But it was still, in many ways, an absolute. I mean, it was just a shocker of a performance in many ways. And the thing about this Newcastle team as well is that obviously they're not the same team that won many hearts and many admirers as they qualified for the Champions League in Eddie Howe's first full season. No, they're having a few issues of late, maybe some confidence, some problems. And it could very well be that the fear of suspension could, how do I say this? It could possibly negate or negatively influence the way the likes of Cher and Joe Linton and even Tonali might be playing. And I feel for Tonali in a way, because last season it was meant to be his season where, with his influence, he would have really been a talisman for Newcastle. And then that betting suspension kicked in, and the poor bloke couldn't even kick a ball for the remainder of the season.
Yeah.
And you also do understand that Newcastle have not been fortunate with regard to injuries. But then, having said that, you play the hand that you've been dealt. And one more point is that Nick Pope now has to have a much better game, because in recent games he has been making some pretty ordinary errors, not the type you'd expect from a bloke who was rated very, very highly, of course, and who Nick Pope regarded as his undisputed number one. Howe still rates Pope very highly, but he has made some mistakes. And if I were Martin Dubravka, I wouldn't be a happy chappy. For me, I'm predicting a goal here. I think Newcastle will score, because with Isak that has to happen. But you'll score more. Not going to be a Desmond though. I'm going for a 3-2.
Right. To us, right. I wish I could share that optimism and hope of faith of winning. I just really do. I'm just not so sure this time. I mean, I thought this about Villa as well, because I thought, Villa are in a bad way. They're struggling. Maybe we could do something there at Villa Park. And how quickly I was brought back down to earth that we couldn't. Because I still knew they were a very good team with really good players there. Morgan Rogers, Watkins. Thanks again, Ollie, for scoring against us. Another penalty. Well done, mate. Yeah, as usual.
To be fair, though, the difference, if I may say so, was that you did predict that it would be a 3-2 defeat. And
but yeah, I did, I suppose, didn't I?
You did predict that, although you were, and I remember, obviously, you were quite hopeful and confident, if that's the right way to put it. But this time around, there's nothing to suggest that you can't pull out a win against this Newcastle team that, for some reason, seem to be struggling with motivation at the worst of times. And I'm confident that you should have a 3-2 win, and you did. I think at Gtech, for some reason, maybe it's the quality of the support, maybe it's the fans. I just don't know, mate. I think obviously there's a reason why you play a lot better, and that's sort of the way it's working. And I think things are going to be set right this weekend. So yeah, 3-2 to the bees to sting the magpies.
Yeah, yeah. I hope, mate. I hope so. I really do. It's just I don't know. I don't know. I just we always seem to struggle against these sort of teams, Newcastle and Villa and all that. We can't beat those sort of teams. It's just even at home. I just don't know. It's I want to go with us to win. I really do, but I'm just having these nagging doubts about it that we may possibly lose. I just don't know. And maybe I could say, hopefully, I'll say we're going to lose, and then it'll work in reverse, and we'll win it. So maybe I could do it that way, and hope we actually win it. And I'm gonna say the 3-2 reverse to Newcastle.
Well, it didn't work against Villa. I wouldn't try that strategy again if I were you, but I understand your concerns.
Yeah. As you say, I think there could be a few goals again. Always seems to be the way at home whenever we play. And, you look at all the results, 4-3 Ipswich, 5-3 against Wolves, 3-2 against Bournemouth. And what another fine win for Bournemouth, by the way. 1-0 against the Spuds. Pummeled Spurs and should have scored loads more, but, walloped them 1-0 in the end. I mean, they could have loads
that night.
Mm.
Yeah, I was chatting with Craig Beasley on WhatsApp. He was at the Vitality Stadium watching the game, and he was absolutely delighted with the way things turned out. And yeah, another quality win. Bournemouth are looking good under Iriola, and obviously Gary O'Neill very much yesterday's news there.
Mind you, I was really surprised about Brighton. I think me and you both had them to win, didn't we, against Fulham? Although I did rate Fulham as well. I think Fulham are a good team. I really do. So maybe we're a bit harsh there, saying Brighton had beat them. But the way they were going, Brighton, they've been brilliant, haven't they? So.
Yeah, but Steve, you know what it is? It's this league in question which has been so topsy-turvy, where, teams have brilliant results one week and come an absolute cropper the next. And obviously, nobody has epitomized this more than Tottenham Hotspur. Lose at home to Ipswich Town, thrash the defending champ that the Etihad, and then struggle other nondescript teams, and then end up losing to a Bournemouth team. But then this Bournemouth team has certainly been playing brilliantly this season, so I suppose in retrospect, losing to them isn't really a shame. And to all those top gooners who see it fit to, laugh at Spurs right now, wind your necks in, because we went to the Vitality Stadium and we got our backsides handed to us. People who live in glass houses should not throw stones. Isn't that right, Mr. Jenkins?
That is right, Mr. Fangaderai. I see. I do know I'd said your surname right again, didn't I? Yeah, that is correct. I thought so.
You said that, and suppose me referring to you as Mr. Jenkins kind of necessitated that in a way. But thank you very much indeed.
Or I'll just call you Mr. T, as I usually do. So, no, but
whatever floats your boat.
But I'll take it you actually like flying, whereas Mr. T doesn't. Well. B.A. Baracus doesn't he?
Yeah. I like flying.
Yeah. Ain't getting no plane, sucker.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, you better be he better be lucky that there were no snakes on his plane. I mean, Sammy Jackson wasn't fond of that, if correctly.
Yeah, I see that film. Yeah, it was a good film that, but yeah, great film. But anyway, let's get back to this. We're not talking about films, but yeah, we'll talk about these obviously the other matches that are being played over the weekend, and there is a question here, Manny. Could you answer this? Can Liverpool spoil Everton's party in last Goodison derby? It's going to be
Yes,
their
they
last
can.
derby there, isn't it?
Yes, they can, and yes, they will. And obviously, as an Arsenal fan, I remember the emotion that was prevalent in the 2006 season when we said goodbye to Highbury. And if Warren were here, he'd tell you right now that Highbury Stadium was in every way the benchmark of what a real football stadium should be like. And the atmosphere there was just wonderful. The Emirates is nothing but, a concrete cesspit in comparison.
Mm.
I mean, that doesn't stop the likes of Kenny Ken going to see the games, but that's because he might hate the stadium, but he loves the club, and that is what it is. So the decision to move away from Goodison Park cannot have been one taken very lightly. And sadly, it's a case of, money talking and everything else pretty much being dictated by those actions. And it also segues into the link that you sent me in our WhatsApp, where you spoke about how cheesed off you were that the old Brentford Stadium was to be converted to an apartment complex, I believe.
Yeah,
No small coincidence. It's exactly what they did with Highbury.
I
And
know.
I think they were able to. What did you say, Steve?
I said it's shocking, mate. It's shocking that they do this with these lovely, great
Yeah.
stadiums. You know, they've got no idea what went on in that stadium for all those years, all the trophies and stuff that were won there. I'm talking about your ground, of course, not mine, unfortunately. But no, I mean, we had some great things happen at our ground as well, over the years. Griffin Park was amazing. It was a small ground, yeah, but plenty of great atmosphere and plenty of great stuff happened. And now it's just gonna be forgotten about and gone to a building thing and all that, and more buildings, more apartments, whatever. We don't fucking need any more. Oh, I hate it, mate. I hate it. I really do.
I'm not too happy about it either. I wasn't really fond of the decision to walk away from Highbury. I was definitely not happy with the decision to change Arsenal's crest, although, we've changed our crest on so many occasions over the years. This new incarnation of the crest, I think many of our venerated Arsenal supporters will say that it looks like, a toy
Yeah.
a children's toy badge. Very amateurish. Nowhere near as fresh as people claim it is. And sadly, though, that is the reality. I mean, um, a lot of these clubs obviously acquire new stadia for the purpose of modernization, and you got to move with the times. I only hope that one thing for which I can be grateful, though, and which hopefully you will be, is that instead of being completely demolished into oblivion, like Sunderland's old stadium, Roker Park, and one or two others were, I think
Yeah.
there is still going to be something done. I don't know if they're going to completely bulldoze the stadium. Will they keep some parts of it? Because one of the stands at Highbury was, in fact, a listed building which couldn't be knocked down under any circumstances, so we could incorporate that. I'm not too sure what's going to happen to Griffin Park, but I only hope that they will try and do whatever they can to maintain the character of Griffin Park. It should, in some ways, be like a museum or even a mausoleum, if you like, to Griffin Park and that beautiful history. And if it serves that purpose, all the better. But now back to Everton. It is obviously the end of an era for everyone there, and it is going to be a very emotional day. And the sad part is that, in all likelihood, it's going to be a huge. The talk will be how we can't afford any more signings because we got to pay for the new stadium. It's stupid. So to answer your question, Liverpool are riding high. Everton are sort of fighting to, get back into mid-table. Liverpool were not at their best against Newcastle,
Yeah.
and Slot will demand a response and get a response. So, yes, they will spoil that Goodison party. But I remember last season when, Herr Klopp was manager, they pulled off a sensational 2-0 win. I don't see them doing that this time around because Arne Slot's got them, really working well. The Dutchman's definitely worked some of his magic. And this should be a routine win for the Reds.
Yeah, you're going for a score?
3-1. Yeah, I'll say possibly 3-1 with Salah definitely getting at least 1 or 2. And even what the heck, maybe Nunez might get 1 if he plays. I think he starts against Newcastle. He might come off the bench and score. I don't know if I can really predict the future and say who will play and who will score, but 3-1 to Liverpool, easy. And Kelleher's going to be suspended, so it will probably be the backup goalkeeper, Yaros. I don't know what's happened. I think Adrian has left Liverpool, so it is Yaros who will be the backup. I don't think Alisson is back fit. So that's going to be a challenge for the bloke. His first real game for Liverpool, a Merseyside derby. Doesn't get any bigger than that.
Yeah, exactly. I think. I mean, you look at that was such a surprise the other day. Everton getting 4 goals. Mind you, a couple of them were own goals, weren't they? Scored by the same bloke, Dawson. So they managed to somehow get 4 goals, but you still can't see, even if they did get some goals, they wouldn't beat Liverpool. Surely, that ain't going to happen.
No chance.
So I'm gonna sort of go. I'm gonna go for a few goals again, of course, but I'm gonna go 4-2 Liverpool for this.
Ooh, that's a big call.
Yeah, I think Salah comes to the party yet again and get some. Maybe could even get a hat trick. Maybe I don't know about Nunez scoring a goal. I think you're smoking something there, Manny. But saying he's going to get a goal, but I just think, yeah, definitely going to be a few goals, 4-2 Liverpool for me. But it should be exciting. We say all this, and it probably be a damp squib and be a 1-1 or something, or 2-1 or whatever, 1-0 or something. But
if you remember, Steve, Merseyside derbies are never or seldom, if ever, damp squibs. This will be full of action.
True, mate. True. Yeah. So anyway, that's our predictions for that. Well, they've gone with, this is Bet MGM, of course. They've gone with a 0-0, 14-1.
Are they taking the mickey?
They must be, I suppose. But let's hope for some goals, eh? I'd like to see a few goals. Now this one, Villa versus Southampton. Surely a Villa win?
I don't want to waste time, Steve. 3-1 to the Villains.
Yeah, I think Southampton probably will get a goal. I'm going to go 3-1 as well. I'm sure they'll have too much for Southampton. I don't know how long Russell Martin and be at Southampton for, but I mean, the thing is, even if they got rid of Russell Martin, who would they get? They've got the same squad, the same players. Could they get anything more out of them? Whoever else joins them.
I'm pretty certain even Russell Harty, Lord rest his soul, would be better than Russell Martin at this point.
Russell Grant. At least he know predictions, wouldn't he? He can predict a few things, Russell Grant. It'd be the stars, lovey, in the stars, in the horoscopes. Yeah. Russell Grant. Yeah. You remember Russell Grant, didn't you, Lenny?
Yeah, I do vaguely. I mean, obviously, my memories of TV from back in the day are somewhat vague, but I think I do remember Russell Grant. I can always watch a few archives and jog my memory. Not a big deal, because you and I both agree TV back in the day was the best.
I think he really sort of started on things like TV-AM and all that. I'm sure you remember that, didn't you? TV-AM and whatever.
TV-AM, I remember that.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about this, mate? Because I have to go and quickly do something. I'll be back soon. All right. I'll just quickly go into this a little bit more or something.
All right, you take your time, and I wanted to make this one quick for all of you watching because Villa are sort of back in form, as Steve himself will tell you, and obviously Southampton are just lurching from one disaster to another, and they're literally in a goalkeeper crisis right now, with neither McCarthy nor Lumley proving able deputies for the crocked ex-Arsenal goalkeeper Aaron Ramsdale. And of course, lest we forget, Jack Stevens will be suspended for this game for the crime of pulling Mark Cucurella's hair. It's good that it's happened. We need to crack down on that nonsense. I think England fans will remember the 2006 World Cup group game against Trinidad and Tobago, and that was in Nuremberg, I think. Yes, that's right, Nuremberg. We were up against Dwight York, Shaka Hislop and company, and we were expected to do very well, but we didn't. We did have some chances and force Hislop into making a couple of saves, but they had the better chances with Dwight York, very nearly scoring from a corner. Robinson flapped at that, and then Stern John very nearly scoring, only for John Terry to clear off the line. And the only way we scored, we opened the scoring with that other donkey, Peter Crouch, and yes, I will call him a donkey, although he's more of a giraffe than Kai Havertz, rising and grabbing Brent Sancho's hair to keep his balance so that he could nod the ball past Hislop to put us up 1-0 in the 83rd minute. And that was a pretty poor piece of play. Steven Gerrard's injury time showstopper sort of added gloss to that, but it was a dreadful performance. And this idea of pulling hair is disgusting. And there are some idiots who even have the nerve to say, well, if you have your hair as long as Cucurella's, then you're asking for it. Well, you try and do that. You try and do that to David Seaman when he was playing. He'd have knocked you out flat.
Old safe hands, yeah.
Safe but strong. I don't want to mess with him. 6'4" Yorkie.
Yeah, I remember that happened the other day. Thing with Cucurella, didn't it? Yeah. Pulling his hair. So as
I said, I'm sorry for interrupting. I do apologise. So as I said, Jack Stevens will be suspended, and I don't, will Russell Martin go back to McCarthy and goal one more time, or I don't know. We'll have to see. So they just look absolutely out of sorts, and even the Ghanaian international Kamaldeen Suleiman is not really able to do very much. The Japanese international Sugawara was in many ways at fault for Brighton's opener. Southampton just looked doomed, mate. They look doomed, and that's why it went quickly 3-1, because we all know that Aston Villa still won't keep a clean sheet. And no prizes for guessing who will score Southampton's goal at Villa Park. Cameron Archer, the ex-Villa.
Probably, yeah. It definitely wouldn't be Jeffrey Archer, would it? But no, no. But I just feel, I feel Villa should win this one. They've obviously got 3-0 there, Villa, bet MGM. So definite. I still think there's one or two really top players they got Southampton. That Tyler Diblin, I really rate him. Young guy. Players got the look of Grealish with the socks down, but he's got a lot of skill. Looks like he's got plenty of ability in that,
Yeah, his real name is Tyler Dribbling. He's that good.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it won't be too much longer until he'll be at a bigger club, surely. No disrespect to Southampton, but I'm sure he'll be at a bigger team eventually. Another team. So I wish it'd be Brentford, but that won't happen, will it? No, I should say it's not a bigger team. So I meant a bigger team, not us. But anyway, right. So, and speaking of that, we're going back to this again, the Bees and Newcastle. And I've had a bit of a think here, Manny, and I'm actually going now for a 2-2 Desmond here. Go for a Desmond for this one. The Bees and Newcastle.
Spirit.
And you're sticking with 3-2 us, yeah?
Yeah. You're not as confident as me, though. I still think you'll win 3-2. But these at Team Talk have gone for 2-1, so there won't be too many goals. But we'll see how that works. Next game?
Well, it's Palace, Man City. And City sort of bounced back, didn't they? They won the other day. Got a win. Palace, they won as well, didn't they? Was it a win? They won the other day as well. I think, was it 1-0 or something? Or 2-1 or whatever?
It's 1-0 with Jean-Philippe Mateta scoring the winner in the second half. And I have to be honest and say that was not really a game that I would have that I was enjoying watching. I remember watching the other game that was on that day and sort of looking back to that more often than not. But again, Crystal Palace, they're going to work really hard. But you saw with Kevin De Bruyne coming back that City just looked that little bit stronger, and Grealish now will have a bigger role to play. I think Guardiola's opted to use him more in the centre of the midfield, and he seemed to do quite well against Forest. So I just think Palace really, they're still going to fight hard and they're still going to try, but I just don't think that they will really amount to very much. Eze is back and back fit, but I still don't think they'll be enough for City. And I am confident of going for a 3-1 win because now that they've started to score again, expect a river of goals. Even if Haaland doesn't, I always say this, ashes to ashes and dust to dust. If Haaland doesn't score, then someone else must.
Yeah. And of course, another big topic at the moment is about Mark Gahey with that armband. I love Jesus written on it. So,
yes.
I'd like to hear your opinion on that, Manny.
Oh, you will, and I'm really, really delighted to have this platform to express my views. Now, if you remember, Steve, I actually posted my views, well articulated, I'd like to say, I'm not blowing my trumpet, on the group chat when I pretty much said that the Rainbow Campaign is not an attempt by anyone to promote, lewd homosexual activities or encourage people to become, homosexual, because you don't choose to become gay necessarily. You are more born with it, and you have to start embracing yourself more. And the Rainbow Campaign, of course, is really about trying to make sure that all marginalized communities in the UK and elsewhere, of course, around the world, are well represented. And what's quite pertinent to note is that for a much longer time, even though, at least in theory, overt racism was outlawed, people from the LGBTQIA community were still oppressed in many ways. They were discouraged from coming out and, revealing their gender preferences, their sexuality, as it were. And even now, in some communities, they're looked down on very badly. And of course, this particular article from BBC Sport saw Thomas Hitzelsberger, the former Germany international and Aston Villa midfielder, give his views on it. And these are his quotes, word for word. To be clear, if clarity is in fact needed, The rainbow armband's objective is not to promote homosexuality. It is supposed to help fight discrimination. I hope every single player out there fights discrimination one way or another, not least because they might be affected, but also as it's a basic human right. We must not be affected by any objectors or doubters, especially those in high profile roles, not least famous footballers who, like it or not, have a platform. So let's switch the direction of focus. A rejection of the armband, such as what Sam Morsey did, and you saw what happened to Ipswich against Gay's Crystal Palace, they lost. If you reject the armband, it can have a negative effect on the community, arguably. The near majority of captains wear the armbands, warm-up shirts and jackets in rainbow colors. Let's applaud them for taking a stance against division and fighting discrimination, and look at the positive developments over the years. And when you do what Morsey did and hide behind your religion to say that you oppose that because apparently homosexuality is illegal, you know, technically in many other religions, homosexuality is also frowned upon. You know, religion in many ways becomes a little bit more fluid and adaptive over the years, and you start changing your beliefs. I believe that Morsey should have been reprimanded. And when you choose to do what Gahey did, which is write, I love Jesus, I'm sorry, but you know, you can't do that. You don't have a right to sort of use that armband as a mere canvas to air your thoughts. And even if there were, I will accept some noble altruistic motives behind it, which I don't think there were. When he wrote Jesus loves you, that looked a lot better. But still, you do not deface that. It almost amounts to vandalism, although some of our friends may disagree. So you're using that campaign to draw attention to yourself, and it's not a good look. And did Gahey deserve to literally have the book thrown at him? I'd say if you're going to do that to Gahey, you should definitely do that to Morsey. And if you're a Muslim and you try to do that, you know, that's not really going to be fair to the community in which you're living, and in the end, it's not going to be fair to your community. And at the risk of adopting a more political soapbox, I also said it segues in many ways to the issue of being religious and religious supposed freedom or what have you in another community. Our communities in the UK do whatever they can to make people of all faiths feel welcome. You are allowed to go and pray in a synagogue, a mosque, a temple, or whatever it may be, and you can follow your religion, but you have no right to impose your religious beliefs on the city which is hosting you. And especially if you work at a company, it's about the office culture and how people can explain that culture to you and try and make sure that you understand that and really go along with that, because it is supposed to be a team endeavor. You don't make this about yourself. And even now, Steve, Muslim players are given special, they're given a lot of favors from Ramadan, a lot of stipulations, a lot of favors. They are allowed to, if they're playing in the middle of a game and they have to, break their fast, they're allowed to do that. And so much is done for them. But the only thing that we should ask in return is that they also should understand the culture and not, be so closed-minded about it. It's about respecting the culture where you work. But the problem with a large number of Muslim players, and I look at Everton's Idrissa Gana Gueye as an example, is that they want the penny in the bun, as we'd say in England. They want to live in a shiny, glittering liberal city and earn, a good sum of money and live the life of Riley. But they don't want to, embrace the culture of that city. And nobody's asking them again to, go against their religion by any means. But more importantly, the most important thing is that you keep your piety and spirituality away from the professional work sphere and pray in secret. It's like what Jesus Christ said in the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 5 and 6. When you pray, don't be like the hypocrites who stand on the streets near the synagogues or houses of worship and try to broadcast their piety to the world. They will supposedly get their reward. When you pray, go to your room, pray to your God in secret, and your God, who sees what you are doing, will reward you. And that's the way you do it. You do not broadcast yourself as some pious, religious, so-and-so, because most of those people who do that turn out to be the biggest hypocrites. As we often say, the biggest bleaters can be the biggest cheaters. But without digressing any further, I think Gahey should not have done what he did. He has a social media platform by which he can say, I stand with the LGBTQI community and also with the LGBTQIA Christians who have been made to feel that Jesus doesn't love them. Jesus loves all of you and we are all children of God. But you do not make us do what you did to the armband and make it about you. I'm sorry, but that is absolutely unforgivable. And as far as the match is concerned, I'm confident to predict that Manchester City will win 3-1, as I've said. And I just don't think Palace will have enough for them. And it's sad because I really do admire Oliver Glasner. I just don't know why it hasn't been working for him. Maybe circumstances have not been in his favour. And I'm sorry for talking a mile a minute, but I hope you got everything I was saying.
Oh, of course I did, mate. Yeah, of course I did. I'd like to go into a real big debate about it, but I don't think we can on this now. I was only going to do this for an hour, and it's gone over that now. But no, I mean, we just obviously go through the predictions. We can go. I'm thinking about maybe doing a stream where we can debate that more, as well as other things. But for now, obviously, I want to try and go through all this. I was glad to get your opinions. I enjoyed that listening to you there, Manny. What your thoughts were, and I pretty much agree with everything you were saying. It is important, and I know I'll just do a quick thing before we go back to this, but I remember the days gone by in sort of early 80s or whatever, when you had people that were so scared, footballers, to come out as gay, You had the likes of Justin Fashanu. You remember him, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I remember him. Brother John was a very big star, but he also was a more than competent player. And he was never treated at all well. In fact, John arrogantly called him an outcast. Maybe I don't quite know the context in which he said that, but what happened to him was very sad, definitely.
It was terrible. So, you go back to the real dark times of it all, where it was really frowned upon, and you couldn't come out as that because, you were ridiculed and mocked and whatever. Because I think, as you remember all the times, the way gay people were portrayed back then, as being all this and all that sort of, all that business and, and all that. And I thought, that's not really how all of them are either. Not all gay people are like that, You can't always tell who is homosexual and who isn't, because they're not all, We remember what they used to do, portray them on comedy things as well, the comedy shows, as you know. I think, 70s, 80s, it was really bad back then. They kept, referring to them as like shirt lifters and things like that and all that sort of thing. And it was horrible. And, it's more accepted now, I think, which is good. I like that they are, a lot has been done to, get this in the spotlight, that people like this they're still human beings at the end of the day, which they are. They are human. They are still like every one of us. Just because they have a different sexual preference or whatever, What should that matter at the end of the day,
Absolutely.
I think it's wrong. It's on a par with racism and things like that.
Exactly.
That you can't accept a person for their colour, you can't accept them for their religion, their sexual orientation, or whatever,
Yes,
and,
it's bigotry.
Yeah, I hate it. I detest it that they do all that, and unfortunately, I was sort of brought up as I say, I was born in 70s, middle 70s, and I had to go through that growing up and hearing this and saying to my mum, why did they say that about bloke, that fella that's different colour. Why they say? Well, and they used to say to me, "Oh no, that's how it is. That's the way it is. That's the way it should be." And I thought, what? Even then, at a young age, I couldn't believe it.
I agree.
And growing up in a strange, different time, different era, and then through the 80s, yeah, it got better eventually through the 80s, and
Yes.
90s and so forth. It did get better, and I think it was all sort of put right a bit, and it has been now. But you're still going to get people that are ignorant. The same with racism and everything. It's never going to go, is it? So, unfortunately, but it's a lot better than it was back then. Let's put it that way. So, but yeah, we will move on because obviously we are here to talk about football and predictions and stuff. So, and big up to you, Chelsea fan. Thanks for coming in. Big up, Mr. B and Manny. Yeah, cheers, mate. Sure. Thanks for coming in here. Keep hitting that like button, people, and sub to the channels. Exactly what Chelsea fans just said. Please keep smashing the likes and subbing. That's all good. And if you got any predictions you want to put in, Chelsea fan, please do in the live chat what you think the scores might be. And you said, what was your score for this again, Manny? Your prediction?
3-1 to City. I think they will start scoring more goals after, and that's the thing. Like they're always capable of scoring goals. I mean, they scored 3 against Feyenoord. It was just defensively they looked a little bit iffy, and obviously the midfield wasn't the best. But they seem to have, addressed that. They've dropped Edison and brought in Ortega. I think he's lent some solidity, and this might be Edison's final season. I think City will be fine. I don't think they'll win the title. I think Liverpool have just done magnificently well, but they'll climb up the table for sure.
Yeah, and Chelsea fan agrees with you, and I'm agreeing with you. We're going for a hat trick here, lads. 3-1 to City. So let's hope it happens. It's not like we're betting on it, obviously, but it'd be good to see if our predictions do come right, correct. So. United and Forest. How about this one, Manny?
Ooh, this ought to be interesting. Nuno up against him. 2 Portuguese managers. Expect quite a bit of passion involved. And obviously, after the disappointment of losing to Arsenal, Amorim will be eager to get his team back to winning ways. But Nottingham Forest also will want to try to recover from that. The only problem is they faced one Manchester club and now they got to face another one. Out of the frying pan into the fire. Or out of the Etihad into old and, rickety Trafford. Still with that leaky roof. And there's a part of it. I don't think it's going to be a 3-1 win for Manchester United as has been predicted there. I predict it's going to be a little bit of a tougher game, and obviously with Chris Wood still playing well, Forest do have a goal threat. But United do seem to be a little bit more cohesive under Amorim right now, and obviously Amorim's not going to suffer fools gladly. He will pick players on form. I don't know if he sees a role for the likes of Casemiro in this particular game, but maybe he'll play a role. Maybe he was just rested for the midweek game so he could be fresher for the weekend game. Although, how can you rest Casemiro against Arsenal? Do you consider that a free hit? I don't know. But I think this should be a game where United start to play a lot better, play for each other. They didn't score against us, but they certainly did have their chances. And your ex-goalkeeper had to pull off 1 or 2 saves, including a world from a header from Matthias de Ligt. And this will be a tight game, a tough game, but United should come out on top. But I'm going for a 2-1 scoreline.
I'm going for a 2-0 United here. I just feel, I don't know. I also thought at one stage, well, maybe Forest could do like they did at Liverpool, because famously they went there to win and won, didn't they, at Liverpool? So Anfield, and they were very merry men that day on the Forest. But could they do the same at United? I was thinking, well, could they? I mean, because they were going well, weren't they? They were flying high. They were third or something, third or fourth in the Premier, and really riding high. And then they had a little bit of a slump. But I still think they're a decent team, Forest. I really do. But I just don't think they do it there, United, somehow. United have got to bounce back, of course, from the other day as well. Yeah, obviously against you lot. We all know what happened there. So yeah, I do think they can get a 2-0 somehow, United. Yeah. So that's what I'm going for.
Okay, good call.
And now we go to your game, Fulham and Arsenal on the Sunday.
Ooh. If Reece Nelson weren't on loan at Fulham, he'd be chomping at the bit to play. But Fulham have got Bernd Leno, Alex Iwobi, and a certain Emile Smith-Rowe playing for them. I think ESR sort of slightly tailed off a little bit, but obviously he began the season magnificently. Leno's still a quality goalkeeper, and Alex Iwobi, oh boy, if he provides that burst of speed, you better watch out. That's not because Beadle's about. Lord rest his soul, of course. But this actually is a sort of a game that could always prove to be a bit of a banana skin, because last season, of course, we went over to Craven Cottage and had an absolutely dismal performance over there. It was another ex-gunner, Willian, who was running the strings that particular day, and I think Iwobi also scored. And it was nice for Bernd Leno to come out with a win against us. And if that wasn't bad enough, in the previous game, they also drew against us 1-1. I believe that particular game saw Andreas Pereira beat Aaron Ramsdale, who was made to look absolutely amateurish in conceding that goal, completely out of position. So they took 4 points off of us. And this season, you've seen them play really well, but they've also blown a bit hot and cold at the Cottage. I think they've lost to Aston Villa and Wolverhampton Wanderers. That 4-1 result, is just underlines how crazy this Premier League campaign has in fact been. And, Arsenal are just in amazing form at the moment. Normally, if Fulham were consistent and doing really well, and I do realise that they beat Brighton 3-1 with Iwobi scoring 2 and the ex-Brighton youth player O'Reilly scoring an own goal. Very unfortunate. But I just don't know if this current Fulham team has the ability to, withstand Arsenal going forward. But they could potentially become a bogey team for us in seasons going forward, and they definitely were. We hated playing against them last season, and they literally tore us a new one at the Cottage. But this time around, I'm hoping for a different story. I think we're still in great form. We're scoring goals left, right, and centre. I'm confident enough to predict a 2-1 win. But sadly, given how Fulham seem to be able to find an extra gear playing against us, especially with their ex-gunners in the lineup, I think Emile Smith-Rowe will definitely want to show Arteta and company what they're missing. I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up in a Desmond, but I can't see Arsenal losing this one. 2-1 to the Gunners for me. And Team Talk says the same thing as I do, as does Chelsea fan. Can you complete the quadruple?
Yeah, you know what? I will. I did almost. I almost thought about a Fulham win here. I did think about that. Because I just, and it's not, again, it's nothing against Arsenal, Manny, you know that. I haven't got no problems, issues with Arsenal, and don't think that, because I haven't. I was thinking of Fulham win, but I think Fulham are a very good team, and you've seen what they've done recently, beating Brighton as well, who were flying high. Brighton, and they're a decent team, but I just think Arsenal are pretty much on a really great run of form now, and you could say that, and then suddenly lose, but I just feel Arsenal are too good at the moment, and especially with the pressure off. They've had the pressure off, don't forget. They play better with the pressure off, don't they? So I think I will go with you and Chelsea fan, and say that 2-1, yeah. It'd be close, but definitely Arsenal to win it. 2-1. Cool. So let's move on to Ipswich and Bournemouth. Hey, now, Manny, you like Bournemouth as well. What do you think they can do? Can they beat Ipswich?
Oh yes, they can. I'm going for 2-1. I saw Bournemouth play obviously against Spurs, and they did have several more chances, only to find the ex-England goal Fraser Forster in good form. There was one particular save, in my opinion, which was a literal blind. I think he saw it late, and he just calmly put his left hand down and blocked the shot from going in, and diverted away from the goal. That was a fine save in and of itself. But Bournemouth, when you take a look at the players that they have, and I envy that club for some of the players they have. Marcus Tavernier should have had a few. Justin Kluivert continuing where he left off from Wolves, running the midfield quite beautifully. I wouldn't be surprised if Kluivert moves on to bigger and better things, and now that he's reminded people that he's not just Patrick's son, but a pretty damn good footballer himself, he could be on the move as well. And of course, he's earned a recall to the Dutch squad under Ronald Koeman. They look defensively solid, regardless of whatever you think about Kepa Arrizabalaga as a goalkeeper. And I'm sure Chelsea fan doesn't have good memories of him. They just look a really good all-round team, and even if Evan Nilsson doesn't score, there are some other good options. But Evan Nilsson, of course, is starting to score, and he did get that breathlessly late equaliser against Aston Villa at Villa Park, and he's starting to really justify the money that Bournemouth spent for him to replace Dominic Solanke. As far as Ipswich are concerned, that Crystal Palace home loss pretty much said it all, really. They'll huff and they'll puff, but they just won't be able to blow the house down. And I certainly don't think the Tractor Boys are going to be picking any cherries this weekend. I'm actually confident of a 2-1 Bournemouth win. I see that website in particular has gone for a Desmond. He thinks that maybe Ipswich can turn the corner at home. But Chelsea fans gone for a 2-0. He agrees with me. I think Bournemouth are just going to be too strong, and they're going to continue to do well. I do realise that it's an away game, and in contrast to their home form, maybe they're not necessarily the best team away from home, but they have gotten some fine results on the road. This has a Bournemouth win written all over it. I would be really, really surprised if Ipswich do get anything from this. 2-1 to the Cherries.
Yeah. I mean, I've been so disappointed with Ipswich, to be honest. I kept thinking they're going to do good stuff. They look really good. I think they were going to stay up, but they've been a bit disappointing, really. And I think Bournemouth have been fantastic. They really did pummel Spuds, only winning 1-0. It was amazing. They didn't get more. They had so many other chances to probably win at least 5-6-0 even, the way they had all those chances, If they could just finish their dinner, they would have had a load, wouldn't they? But, I think they should be still too good for Ipswich as well. I'm actually going to go 2-0 Bournemouth here. Yeah.
So you're agreeing with Chelsea fan?
Not Chelsea fan, yeah. So I'm going with what he said there. They're 2-0. So I think Bournemouth will have too much and they won't concede either. So, yeah. So that's what I'm going for. And then we move on to Sunday's games. Leicester against Brighton. How about this one, Manny?
Oh, waiting for Mr. Van Nistelrooy. I think he's fine, Steve, that Brighton are going to be a different kettle of fish to West Ham altogether. And I see that the Team Talk website has gone for a 3-2 win. For me, this game will have a Desmond written all over it, because obviously Leicester are going to score goals, but so will Brighton. They should be able to find a way. And it's a little bit, facetious to say that everything's hunky-dory now that Van Nistelrooy's won, because look, it's against a West Ham team that this season have not really done very well under Sloppy Teggy, as I would call him. I know a lot of people call him Teggy, but whichever name fits, it would fit perfectly. And there are going to be some tougher tests. Does he have the King Power Stadium happy again? Are they really behind him? It could very well be the case. But and of course, when you got Jamie Vardy still proving that he has it, what's not to like? But I do think, though, that Leicester will still find it difficult against a Brighton team that are going to be a lot more workmanlike. And obviously, let's not forget that Hertzler will be back on the sidelines, because he was suspended for the game against Fulham, and it was his assistant that took charge. So Hertzler is obviously going to have them a lot more organised than they were at Fulham. And I don't think he'll necessarily drop Bart Verbruggen, but he will put him on notice and tell him, look, son, we've got Steele on the bench, so you need to harden up too. Pun intended.
Yeah.
Or might just steal your spot. So it'll be a Desmond. I think both these teams will cancel each other out. And a point, I think Brighton will probably take a point after what happened against Fulham. Leicester should be happy with the point. Of course, it could very well be that one of these teams might end up winning 3-2. But let's put it this way. Neither Mads Hermansen, the Herminator, nor Bart Verbruggen, the Bartman, will keep a clean sheet. I'm going for them to concede 2 each.
Desmond, eh? Right. I'm actually going for a draw as well here, but I'm going 1-1 for this one.
Okay.
Just feel it's going to be, cancel each other out and be a draw, 1-1. Somehow. As well, the thing is, right, I've been going for Brighton to win a lot lately, and I think they're going to do really well. And I was shocked how bad they were against Fulham. And as you say, well, Hertzler is coming back down. He's going to be on the sidelines again, so it might give him an injection again, back, to play well again. So, but I just got a feeling still 1-1 somehow for this one. So
I get where you're coming from, and obviously Danny Welbeck not being in the Brighton team is a big loss as well. So they missed his goals, and they're going to have to depend on someone else to really make things happen.
Yeah. So how about Spuds and Chelsea, mate?
These people Team Talk are very brave to predict 1-1 draw against Enzo Maresca's Chelsea. And obviously, we remember the corresponding fixture last season, which saw Mauricio Pochettino return to his old stomping ground and win an absolutely bizarre game with, Wacko Jacko scoring a very bizarre hat-trick. I think Spurs were down to 9 men that game.
Yeah.
Going to see any such shenanigans this time around. And the way Chelsea are playing right now, they look very organised. Whoever they play in the back four, I think they can be trusted to do a very good job. I think they've got their midfield working. And, several of the players who obviously weren't able to do very well under Poch or even the previous managers in the season gone by, I think they've started to do really well under Maresca. He has some roles for them. We're seeing Mikhailo Mudryk do quite well in the Conference League, but I don't quite know what he's done in the Premiership so far. Maybe he's been asked to come off the bench and try and provide some impetus. I don't know. I think Enzo Fernandez has certainly recovered some form and is starting to be very influential again. Moises Caicedo definitely, come a long way. And of course, you can't forget about the Moonwalker, Mr. Jackson, scoring quite regularly. And I think what Chelsea fans says is that if Anthony Taylor, I think, is going to referee that game, I think maybe there'll be some issues. I just don't see Spurs being able to get anything from this. I think even if they were to bring Heung-min Son back into the starting lineup, it'll be very difficult for him to try to get in defense. And as I said, Chelsea just very well organized, and as for Spurs, for all of the talk of Kulusevski and Maddison and company, they've got a very, 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 very soft centre. And it will be a long day for Fraser Forster in goal. I'm actually going to confidently predict that Chelsea will win, and I'm going to go for 3-1. And let's not forget, you cannot overlook Ice Palmer.
No. Quality. The thing is, as well, I still think they got a decent team, Spurs. The likes of they got Kulusevski and Johnson and Son when he's at it. When he's people are saying he might be finished, Son, but I still think he's a good player. I'd take him at the B's any day. I still think he's quality. I just know they've got some good Maddison when he turns up on his day, when he actually will turn up and do something. He's an amazing player. So Solanke, don't forget Solanke as well. I mean, I thought he was poor against Bournemouth, to be honest. I had some chances. I thought he was crap. He was useless.
Yeah, he had one chance half. He'd gone past Dean Hyson, I think, who had scored what proved to be the winner. You hit the target. Often not that's a goal, but he blasted it over. And I think, he was probably going through a lot in his mind, coming back to the vitality, worried about the reception that he'd get. I think they probably would have been, warmly received him, but still, it's not easy going back to your old stomping ground. But I think something he will be out to prove a point, and this is the sort of game which could get his juices going. But again, Chelsea just look too. They look efficient, and I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure how they'll be able to cope. And Chelsea fans confident enough to predict a 4-1 win for Chelsea, a repeat from last season's that game. I've gone for 3-1. What say you, Steve?
I don't think I'm going to go quite that bad, that big with 4-1. I don't think it will. I don't think it'll be that again. Could well be what you're saying, Manny. Could well be 3-1. I'm actually going a little bit closer than that. I'm going 2-1, Chelsea. I just feel, Spurs have got to try and come back a bit, haven't they? And then I don't think I still think Chelsea will win it, but I don't think it'd be a really big, massive win. So I think 2-1 for this. So, Chelsea are on really great form, aren't they? And then, what are they now? Are they third? Are they third, Chelsea, now?
Yeah, no. Chelsea are actually second ahead of Arsenal on goal difference.
Oh, yeah, second, yeah. Yeah. So they are having, it's been brilliant so far for them, isn't it? And Maresca seems to be doing the job there. A lot of people had a lot of misgivings about him and saying, he wouldn't be up to it. But he's proved them all wrong, hasn't he? So, I still think another win, but just 2-1 this time. So Hammers against the Wolves. What are you going to say for this one, Manny?
Well, they've called it El Sakiko on the group chat, and there's a reason. I was the one who called it. The loser of this game, back in the morning. The only question is it going to be Gary O'Neill or will it be Julian Lopetegui? And of course, for Gary O'Neill, he is a former Hammer himself, having played there as a player. I think he moved there from Middlesbrough after a very long stint with Portsmouth. And I remember speaking to Tony, better known as Early Doors Football TV, and he was saying, of course, that if Lopetegui were to be sacked, then O'Neill wouldn't be a bad choice to take over. But I think developments since then have shown that they are planning on going for Graham Potter, the ex-Brighton and Chelsea coach. And of course, Potter is another case study and a sad example of the lesson that not everything that glitters is gold. Never should have left West Brighton to go to Chelsea. But both of these teams have produced some really good performances. West Ham obviously were quite impressive when they beat Newcastle at St James's Park, and Wolves, of course, they thrashed Fulham at Craven Cottage. They looked really good, and they certainly they beat Southampton and thought that they were starting the climb. But since then, they've just been committing the same silly mistakes in the defence, and Gary just hasn't been able to solve that. But West Ham's defence hasn't exactly been, watertight. They conceded 5 against us. I know it's us, but even then, you don't concede 5. And they've certainly shown that they can pose an attacking threat. We all know that Bowen is the smashing. Aaron's not much a defender, an attacker. You said, I love you. Free kick specialist, bet. But they're defensively horrible. Both teams have absolutely awful defenses. So it will pretty much be down to which team can, get in behind the other defense and score. And both teams are really going to have to tighten up. Otherwise, I don't see anyone getting anything. A draw probably won't suit the manager. I think if Gary were to draw this, he might get sacked. Lopetegui will probably be given a final warning, but a loss will be fatal. And the thing with me is that I know that Chelsea fan has sort of moved on to one side and gone to Southampton into one. I think he believes in their attacking prowess. And sadly, I take a look at both teams and their strengths and weaknesses. I might be inclined to agree with West Ham to just nick this one by a 1-goal margin. I'm going for 2-1 as well. And as for Gary O'Neill, I think, chewed up by the Wolves and spat out, I'm afraid.
Yeah. I just feel that Wolves can do this, win this. I mean, as much as I want Gary O'Neill to be, stay there, I don't like that, what they're doing to him. I mean, I think he's a magnificent manager. I really do. And it was terrible what happened at Bournemouth. They're getting rid of it. Okay, they're doing better now under Iraola, you can say. And it wasn't that bad a move in the end to let him go and bring in Iraola. But, I thought, you keep the team up like he did, and they got a lot to thank him for keeping them up, Bournemouth, what he done there. And I just think he's a really great manager, and hopefully he can do this with Wolves as well. And they've got some really good players there. I mean, like Cunha and all that are all really good players. And I just feel they're sort of firing more than West Ham at the moment because they've got some good players as well. But they're not really doing it, are they? They're not doing it enough, their players. And like Paquetá are all been disappointing, all been terrible,
Yeah.
So I just think Wolves are gonna nick this. I'm gonna go 2-1 Wolves.
Okay. If Gary O'Neill hears this, I'm sure he'll be very happy indeed, and maybe he'll let them know. Lads, we've got a Brentford fan who really enjoys us. He enjoys me. Let's win it for Steve Jenkins.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't know if you do agree that he's a good manager, Manny. I think he is, and you know what he done at Bournemouth was no small matter, was it? Keeping them up was amazing.
Mate, listen, I agree that he's a good manager. The job he did at Bournemouth, obviously after the debacle that was Scott Parker, it was amazing. And Craig from up the chain in all departments was scathing about the decision to just cut O'Neill adrift. I think maybe the Bill Foley obviously had bigger things in mind and wanted to try to the club forward, and maybe he just didn't quite see O'Neill as the man to take them forward. But the thing about O'Neill is that he will find another job elsewhere, so we don't have to worry about his future. But he did a brilliant job as well, and I also didn't like the way it happened, but I understood why. And of course, in Iriola's first season, when Cherries couldn't, hit a barn door while Wolves were doing well, Mr. Beasley absolutely, apoplectic and talking a great deal about how it was a mistake to get rid of Gary O'Neill. But, since then, he's come around and obviously results have. And he still admires O'Neill for the job he did over at the Vitality Stadium. But he now knows, club on, and he's enjoying football that they're playing. And why wouldn't he? I mean, wins over City, Arsenal, and now third season at the Vitality, and some good performances away from home. They're solidifying their status as it would seem, and I think it's in many ways a throwback to when Eddie Howe was managing the club and they were doing so well, and that really makes Craig quite happy. I think also what cost his job at Bournemouth was long after they secured safety from relegation. They had a bit of a drop-off in form and finished just, I think, 16th, 17th. You can't afford to have that sort of drop-off. You can't lose focus into that. But look, Gary knows how to get players playing well for him. Maybe something's not quite working, but I really do think Wolves fans need to get off his back. All these chants of Gary, what's the score? They're not helping.
No, that's very true, buddy. Very true. And I just wish him well. I hope he gets them up. And if they do sack him, I hope he gets goes to a team where he gets the right backing and they keep him there and he's a real success, because I think he should be. And we got very, very few really top English managers, in the game, and he's one of them. And I think you should keep these people and nurture them and back them properly, and get them, because obviously he's an ex-player, and one of these ex-players that can actually do a manager's job. Half of these that have gone into managing haven't been successful, have they, these ex-players? You see them now, like Rooney and whatever, and Gerrard and whatever. They haven't all really been successful. I know Gerrard won something in Scotland. He won at Rangers, didn't he? The Premier and whatever there. But
with Gerrard, become a good manager. I mean, it's so bad that you're sacked club in Saudi Arabia, then it says it all. I don't think any club in England can touch him with a barge pole after that.
Yeah, and of course you got the likes of Lampard as well. He's pretty much been a failure, hasn't he, as a manager? You think all these have been top players, they would make great managers, and it don't work out that way, does it?
Well, I mean, Lampard's gone to Coventry, I think. So, how do you replace someone like Mark Robbins, who did some great things for that club? I don't know, but believe me, that is a step down. A huge step down.
I mean, yeah, getting Lampard, yeah. What's he won as a manager? Nothing. I think Robbins. I think he was a great manager there, and he's a very good underrated player as well for Man United. I think he was a really good player, and for Norwich and so forth, where he played for as well. Very good player. So. And he shows what you can do, being an ex-player, you can be a manager. You can be successful, and he's one of them who has done that.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about this in detail another time. But I think the trick to some of these managers, they've got to serve their apprenticeship, and I think if you take a look at people like Gerrard and Lampard and others, I think they were given really good jobs too soon and just haven't been able to cope with it. So yeah, I don't really see Rooney being able to truly evolve as a manager until he really starts to change his personality. But look, that's something we'll discuss another day, obviously, because we've gone just over 2 hours. And if you're not hanging oven, you must be very sleepy indeed.
Yeah, but I might be going to watch the cricket, Manny, because they've started again the second day. They started.
Oh, yeah.
In the first.
They just started, yeah.
So, and
we've got the sign up them. I love it.
And they haven't lost another wicket yet, New Zealand, 88 for 5 now. So let's hope they can wrap it up a bit now, England, and probably extend the lead, or would they enforce the follow-on? I don't know. Do you think that could happen? I don't know how much they need for the follow-on. I don't know. But
to force the follow-on for a 5-day test, you need to have a lead of 200, and New Zealand made sure that wouldn't happen. But if we can put them out with a lead of anything like 150 or even 100, that would be a big bonus. And Harry Brook, what a brilliant counter-attacking innings that was. Ollie Pope also proving his worth. But our batsmen have got to do a lot better in the third innings. Seriously. Some of the shots we played, and I saw the first hour of play while on Hanno's watch-along. Oh, boy. It was awful.
Yeah, that opening partnership again, man. He didn't fire, did it, really? I mean, okay, Crawley got 17, but Duckett was out for a Duckett. And
listen, let's not let off the hook. I mean, he was playing and missing. He was looking very skittish indeed. And his dismissal was just from a wonderful ball by Matt Henry, which went through that gap between bat and pad. As a batsman, there is nothing uglier than leaving a gap between your bat and your pad. You don't need to be Jeffrey Boycott to agree with me on that.
I'll tell you what, though, I rate Matt Henry. I think he's a really class bowler. I do, and quality bowler. And of course, Southie is going to be his last one there, isn't it? I believe. So he's retiring.
Yeah.
What servants they've been to New Zealand over the years. Been superb. And I think they got some good talent there, New Zealand. I really do.
And obviously, when you consider the fast bowlers that have retired, I mean, the likes of Neil Wagner, Trent Bolt, it hasn't been easy replacing them. But I think Tom Latham will probably rue his decision to go with an unchanged lineup because there is no recognised spinner there. I mean, it is that Bashir really was the leading wicket taker in the first innings, but if you're batting last on pitch and if it gets dry, the spinner will make a difference. And New Zealand might need to make a few changes, and I think we will want to get revenge for that one-run defeat in the last series. Eh?
Yeah, definitely, mate, definitely. But I think I will go and have a look at that. But before we go, where can we find you, my friend?
Well, first of all, as always, Steve, big up to you for hosting the stream, and I'm really glad that there were no interruptions.
Yeah, brilliant.
To touch wood, because we're almost over anyway. I'm delighted. You can, of course, catch me here on the Hive as we sort of go through the buzz, Mr. B and me, and you can also catch me on the other channel of Steve's where we chat England cricket, where I'm probably on there a little bit more often, but you can definitely catch me on both for now. And a bit short notice for Steve to host this stream, but I'm glad I was able to hop on. And I'm definitely looking forward to hopping on a little bit more and talking about other footballing issues as well. Also catch me on Del Boy Gunner TV, Coach's Corner, Oris Talks Football, Up the Cherries in all departments, as mentioned. Danny AC TV, Tony Claude Gunner TV, Rich Sports, Football United, Gundown UK, The Southern Gooner, Spurs Asia TV, and of course Warren's Team Talk, and several other streams where I've made some very sporadic appearances, all quite close to my heart. And if they don't believe me when I tell them they are special to me and close to my heart, what's coming in for them, Steve?
A check in the post.
Yep, and these checks have got to be written very soon. And of course, thank God it's Friday. We have a weekend. Do please catch the cricket, which is on right now. I think it's on TNT Sports if you've got it, if you enjoy cricket. Or else, if you are more into the football, it will be resuming tomorrow, of course, with the weekend action from the Premiership. I do not like midweek Premiership games. Steve can agree with me on that. But, you know, the scheduling dictates and it has to happen. And if you've got some exciting plans to do this weekend, which don't involve sitting in front of the telly and watching sports, do please enjoy yourselves. Maybe a nice and pleasant picnic. Actually, you can't have a picnic. It might be too cold right now. But whatever you decide to do this weekend, as always, take care of yourselves. Be safe and be happy. Do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. And don't do anything that Mr. B or I wouldn't do. But until then, farewell to thee. Goodbye and God bless to all of you. And you know what? I need to turn on the telly too and see how we're doing against those Black Caps. Cheers, everyone.
Yeah, cheers, fella. Thanks for coming in once again, my friend. And an update for you. It's 89 for 5 now, New Zealand. Still no other wicket. But anyway, I'm sure we will get them all out at some stage and hopefully still have a lead. That would be brilliant. But obviously, thanks to everyone that's been in the live chat and watching this on live or playback or whatever. Follow me on Instagram there at Mr. B for Life 182 and Mr. B Hive Football Chat and Mr. B Chats England Cricket. So yeah, keep following that, keep smashing the like, subbing, whatever. Thanks to Chelsea fans, Stepsy and Warren in the live chat. Obviously more to come. I've got the reaction to this game against Newcastle, of course, which will be probably Monday, I would think. Along with the buzz, of course, that's next week as well. Be going back to that my debate show, the buzz. So check that out, and of course the cricket reactions to the test at the moment, second test, and then the women's, of course, on Sunday. Hopefully they can make it 2-0. 1-1. What am I talking about? 1-1 in the ODIs. I'm thinking of the T20s again. But no, the ODIs can make it 1-1 and win it, of course, would be great. But, you know, obviously it's been a great stream. And thanks to everyone, to Manny, of course, again, and to everyone else watching. But for now, we are out of here. We are bouncing. Thank you. Bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.